This weekend's Riot Fest, the annual popular music festival, returning to Douglas Park this weekend for 3 days of fantastic performances.
Yeah, other headliners include the Postal Service, Turnstile, and The Cure. Joining us now is Riot Fest co-founder Michael Petryshyn, also known as Riot Mike. Mike, we're going to talk about the music and the bands that are going to be there, but I want to start, if it's okay, with a revelation that was in the Chicago Sun-Times this week, that you were recently diagnosed with being on the autism spectrum or autism spectrum disorder. So tell us about this discovery. You said in the article that things, quote, finally made sense for you.
Yeah, it's a late stage diagnosis at, I was 44, now I'm 45, but it was this past April. And, you know, when you think the world thinks like you do or operates mentally like you do, it's kind of, you look at things differently after that. And when you realize that maybe you're a little bit different. And all in all, like when I, was finally diagnosed, it just made my life easier. Like, I don't think it's so much of a burden as that I'm really, really, really good at certain things and awful at other things. And that's like, just like daily stuff, like, I don't know, eating, going out to get food, or it's just like this plan structured I need in my life. And I'm very thankful that in my Riot Fest world, I have the best employees and the best people working on it to help me just like kind of navigate and really just focus on what I'm good at. And that's just hyper-focusing on the festival in itself and having my ideas and the group's ideas just kind of being executed.
Wonderful.
Mike, one of the things that jumped out to me, you said you wanted to share your story so maybe it could help others who might be dealing with some of the same things, who didn't know,
Yeah.
and also how punk music was therapeutic for you growing up. I mean, that gave you a voice and kind of helped make things make sense.
Right.
Having all that come together now at Riot Fest, how does it feel to see your vision that was in your mind finally come to fruition, now grow to what it is today?
You know, when I was younger, let's say I got into punk rock when I was in between 4th and 5th grade. That's like the first time I heard the Sex Pistols and the Clash. And I was up in Canada with family friends, and the 2 older sons made me a mixtape of this stuff. And I would listen to this mixtape of punk rock bands. I'd fall asleep to it and on my Walkman or whatever, and I'd wake up at like 2 a.m., when like their batteries dying. But I did that for years. And in a way, without knowing, that was like therapy. I look back on like, getting into punk rock, I just like, it hit me on an emotional level, but also on an intellectual level. It was like the first time I looked up the word anarchy in the dictionary. And it just spoke to me. And, even though I listen to a broad range of music, whether, jazz, classical, I love my Bob Dylan. Punk rock is the one that I feel most home at because it's really the most authentic. There's nothing really plastic about it.
Yeah, I totally understand that. We know you are originally from Buffalo, New York, and we heard there are a couple of artists this year that are also from Buffalo, and you're super excited about having them part of the fest. Do you want to tell us about those musicians?
Yeah, so Ani DeFranco, she's legend back home. Like, Buffalo's known for several artists, Rick James being one of them, Goo Goo Dolls, and 10,000 Maniacs. But Ani DeFranco, she changed music. She's just legend, and this is the first time she's playing, and I am beyond stoked. She's a phenomenal songwriter, phenomenal.
I have a couple of her albums actually too.
Oh, look at you!
Yeah,
I'm learning something new about Dana every day.
Great.
And then Snapcase. So they're a hardcore band from Buffalo that like the punk hardcore scene still hasn't caught up to them. So when I was in the 90s, like going from high school to college, they owned the scene, and they were on Victory Records here in Chicago, and it's like they're the first wave of Normandy, and a lot of bands after them. To this day, even I could hear Turnstile, who's having a moment out of, they're You know, if you look at the artwork, they're at the top next to, you know, underneath Foo Fighters. But I hear it. I hear Snapcase in them. You know, and that's like 20-some years removed. So I'm really happy that they're coming. They're a wonderful band. I can't wait that they're singing.
And I'm sure a lot of other people can't wait to hear them too.
Riot, Mike, always appreciate you joining us, and I know you've made it a real emphasis to make community engagement and involvement such an important thing after some of the pushback and concerns from neighbors near Douglas Park, really making this a true Chicago community event. So we wish you all the best this weekend.
I appreciate that.
All right, again, Riot Fest kicking off this Friday. It's going through Friday to Sunday in Douglas Park. Around 100 artists are going to perform throughout the 3-day event.